Okay, so this afternoon we're joined by Harry Bingham, who's got a world of experience in coaching and playing, and he's going to be adding his input into the discussion surrounding youth football. Take us away, Harry.
Thank you for inviting me on, Rohit. It's a pleasure to be here. I think we're going to talk about the whole process and the concept of youth development here in Australia. And people who's brought it to highlight at the moment are bigger names than me.
Yeah.
And you talk about the most recent person is Mark Viduka.
Yep.
Being very critical of the situation of the lack of youth players getting the opportunities or succeeding in a world stage like he did. And why indeed is that happening? If you've been at the coalface a number of years, like myself, and maybe the last 10 years, there's been a continuum of disruption.
Yes.
Disruption to the competitions, disruption to national technical directors. They've changed 3 or 4 times. Now, without being an overall critic of individuals, I think the technical directors of Australia we had Robert Ban, we had Han Berger, we had Eric Abrams, we had Rob Sherman, all qualified and experienced and capable people.
Yes.
Who you might add have tried to implement change, but for whatever reason, and I'm sure they all have their own reasons, it's not bearing any successful indicators at the moment. And I think that's the sort of thing. So I guess, what do you say about it? What's happening as to them great players? Viduka's classed as a golden generation. You're talking about, Cahill's there, Jason Kalina's there, Lucas Neal, Emerton, Moore, Schwarzer. You're talking about guys that's played at the highest level of football in the world. Not just making up the numbers, not playing in the second or third division in Europe, but the Premier Leagues of Italy, Germany, Holland, England, Spain, France. Top level players playing against top level players. There was never any surprise that these players were going to be successful at the World Cup, and as we know. So we're now in 2020. The World Cup 2006 is 14 years ago. So we had very successful coach in Goose Hiddink. And it was natural we want to follow on with, his influence. So naturally we had Dutch people come in as our technical directors and people who would implement a plan which would take us forward. I personally think that was good choice because although many people might want to be critical of Holland and the Dutch, they have proven masters at youth development and have an excellent record. And in my time, my favourite players growing up, my favourite other team was Holland. Superb players. Cruyff, Bergkamp, Overmars, Krol, you just name them, roll off the top of your head, world class. So that's a good move. The first gentleman to come was Robert Ban, an older man in the system, and he looked and observed the Australian landscape, and he said it needed changes now. The thing that maybe I should have raised alarm bells at the time, and it's in the report, was Australia was not deemed as having technical players. They were deemed to be having physically capable athletic players. There is truth to that, and it was a strength. And it's something we have to. But to say Kuhl, to say Viduka, Bresciano, Kalina weren't technical. I think that's something we should have raised eyebrows with at the time. Kalina himself played for Ajax, so he's clearly someone who's impressing the Dutch and great at youth development. However, we went with that. Then Robert Ban left just before his second year had surpassed, and he brought in a mentor called Han Berger. I met Han and worked with Han. He was impressive. He knew the game, very knowledgeable, being in Japan and in the Asian region, knew a bit about football and youth development and the plans that were successful in Holland.
Yeah.
So the first thing after interviewing and talking to various personalities was to come up with a national curriculum.
Yep.
National curriculum is a good idea. I think any country needs a reference book of training and development for the junior coaches of that country, who for the most part are volunteers, dads, uncles, mums, people who do it because nobody else does it. So they need a book and a reference manual. So I think a national curriculum is a good idea.
Yeah.
And I think the national curriculum we have, that's still in place to this day, has got a lot of good stuff in it. It's got a lot of good stuff in it and good details. There was a national curriculum 2 brought out, and probably because I think from Hamburger's perspective, the progress was not going as quickly or as well as it should have. And the feeling was maybe Australian coaches, from his point of view, weren't understanding the content and the concepts of that.
Yeah.
So he brought out what they call the building blocks of it and put it into a 4-tier part. Made a bit of sense to try and get implemented. Mm-hmm. And he talked about discovery, he talked about skill acquisition, he talked about game training, and then the training game as the 4 pillars of development. And it's a long-term phase.
Yes.
So that's 10 years. So, okay, we've been following that. That then became, if you're going to play a certain way, adopt a certain way, you have to have coaches getting familiarised all the way through. So the national curriculum became the way we were educated as coaches. Mm-hmm. Our coaching courses implemented the national curriculum. So suddenly you started hearing terms like BP and BPO and transition and the main moments.
Yes.
And players started thinking of that.
Yep.
Implementation of 1-4-3-3-3 formation. Yeah, it's okay. It's a development tool and formations for young kids. It allows width and depth, a little bit more space. Mm. And players then became roles. So your number took on a position on the field. You had a 6, 8, or 10 as midfield players.
Yes.
And 10 would be forward of 6 or 8, mm-hmm. or indeed 8 or 6 would be behind a 10 or an 8.
Yeah.
So that was the basic only difference from 4-3-3, and my understanding has got about 7 ways of lining it up. The most obvious one being a hidden number 9, with throwing the number 9 and making the diamond midfield. Yeah. Is one other way of shaping it. However, that's the way we progress. So we started doing that. We started doing it in coach education. We started training players. We started selecting players who fill the requirements of these positional roles.
Yes.
And I do think we were successful. As a matter of fact, I think we were very successful. I think the players we picked to play in our national teams were the best 6, 8, and 10s, the 7, 11s. They were exactly players who were doing exactly what the coach wanted. Mm-hmm. Now, we also adopted this possession-based style, being more applicable to retaining the ball, and therefore the idea where we would create, having more of the ball, we would tire the opposition and we create more scoring chances.
Yeah.
There then is where we might have some problems. You're starting to say, okay, when 6 gets the ball, mm-hmm. he's got a reaction from 5 or 11 or 9. That's his passing options. Now, the idea of football is, can you play the ball forward? And how can you play the ball forward? Can you pass it? Can you play it behind? Can you run? Ultimately, can you score a goal forward? And if you can you give the ball to someone who can? Okay. Mm-hmm. So basically, you get that concept of how to play football.
Yeah.
If you don't have the ball, you're trying to stop the ball when played forward.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make the ball go sideways or backwards or to be intercepted. So keeping possession became something of a priority and a measure that we were playing well. We had 70% possession a game. The opponent had less. But we lost the game 1-0. There was no emphasis on the goal lost or the opposition's contribution to the game, be it less possession or not. We seem to value having possession alone over everything else. And that's where things started to become misunderstood or break down, because yes, you need to have possession of the ball to score goals, but you need to have effective possession. Now, let's be fair to the curriculum, it points it out. It made it out, and that's where it was misunderstood, and that's where it should have corrected itself. Possession for possession's sake became the norm. Effective possession became misunderstood. That's more detail. That's finishing, creating scoring chances. So if you've not got a shot on the ball, you want to keep possession, you pass it backwards or sideways, which is fairly easy to do. It's not difficult to play sideways or backwards. Play the ball forward, particularly when you get to the finishing areas where you need creativity. You need a player thinking about scoring a goal, getting behind, taking a player on. That's decision making. That's problem solving. And I think the fear of losing possession has overtaken the risk taking and the better decision making.
Oh yeah, definitely has. Definitely.
So where do we go then? We become an effective team that keeps possession. All of our kids know I'm a 6, I'm an 8, I'm a 10, I'm a 7. This is what I do when we've got the ball. This is what I don't do. And when we haven't got the ball, I've got to get into this sort of position. It didn't become a 1v1 situation where you have nearest player trying to stop the nearest player. It became, no, I'll block the passing lane between the spaces, because if they have 4 in midfield, we only have 3, it might not be practical to try and cover more players. So that there's nothing wrong with that in itself, but to give that to younger players in the skill acquisition phase is where this thing starts to break down. And so what have we turned out? Our national team players have been the best selected players at playing 1-4-3-3. Are they good at solving problems? Are they good at dealing with a team that is defending with a 4-5-1 situation? Are they good at defending themselves when their emphasis has been on possession, finding space, relocating to get forward? It breaks down. Are they in a position quickly enough to return to a defensive mode, BPO if you like, and win the ball back? I think that is where the game has got questions to answer. Defending football has become a lesser known tactical skill. Now, the actual curriculum does mention it. It does start to talking about it, and the training game phase, the finishing school phase, the 17, 16 to 20-year-old get the result phase. Where a player is adapting. And it's assuming then that he has been through skill acquisition, he's acquired game training principles, therefore the next phase. But the problem we have is then you get into competitive football where it's important to win games. Now, if you're not given a message of that winning is what we're trying to achieve in a game, score goals and win the game, and it's unlikely you're going to get a player coming into that way of thinking very quickly. Now, there's the next message. Winning became something of lesser importance. And the performance of the individual was more important. How the team played, how long, stats of possession, stats of keeping the ball. Again, effective possession is what we might want to measure, because possession for a number of passes would be taking in backwards and sideways passes. Whereas forward passes, shots on goal, and effective possession, where there's an end result to the number of passes, maybe a more accurate measure. And some stats are holding up there that teams that are winning 3-0 and have had less possession than the team that didn't score the goals, you might say their possession was far more effective than the balance and number of passes. So there's something that's got to be addressed. But if the message to coaches is then getting delivered, then it's expected that the next level of coach takes on the next factor of coaching, being scoring goals, being attacking, being winning games. The other thing to ask, if a player misses skill acquisition, so we don't take part in the skill acquisition phase, the SAP phase, does that mean that player is going to fail because he's missed that? So here's something to think about skill acquisition. It's actually nothing new. At the moment, with the whole COVID situation, coaches are talking to players, go out and practice. Get a bunch of balls and go down the park and hit the ball to goal, and dribbling it and markers, hit the ball off a wall, juggle with the ball. But is that new? Is that something that you should be doing anyway?
Exactly.
Because the previous generation of players had no coaching, Rohit. So there was no coaching. There was no structures. Training was very much unstructured. Look at the greatest players in the world, or the greatest countries. Brazil is up there. Africa is up there. Argentina is up there. They don't have synthetic pitches. They don't have wonderful programs. Yet they're producing great players. So we seem to need to want to structure everything. Quite rightly, we're a structured country. Our education system is structured. We have a lot of good things that other countries don't have. But if you look on the things that we have now, 2006 World Cup, after that, we still didn't have an A-League. We get an A-League, a professional league. We get a professional women's league. We get coach education. You can become qualified. You get a diploma in coaching in football. We've got football on TV. Live football we can watch on TV now. A kid can watch football on TV live. We've got synthetic pitches. Can play all year round. We've got indoor futsal. We've got all these things that you need. And yet, here we are in 2020, where we are not getting runs on the board at Youth World Cup level, international level. Not a lot of young players are appearing in the A-League. And the NPL follows the A-League model as the next, which is supposed to be a development league. So ask yourself all this thing, what is happening? Well, the AIS is gone. The VIS is gone. The NTC programs, which was run by federations, are gone. And you're handing it back to clubs. Now, if our clubs were professional, all like A-League clubs, and we foster a national curriculum process on them, that they must meet certain criteria and they need to have certain qualifications and things in place, then we would be reasonably successful. But our clubs are semi-professional. Our A-League clubs have struggled to fill the responsibility of the youth development commitments. I'm not very good at it. They've only getting around to it in the last 2 or 3 years. Then, so you bring in a question, the time frame. There's a standard sort of rule of thumb suggested by, I think the author is Malcolm Gladwell, don't quote me, but he wrote a famous book called Outliers. And Outliers suggests that if you want to be an expert in a chosen field, then you train for 10,000 hours. And maybe it's a 10-year period. Now, there's questions to be asked about that itself. But let's say that 2008 we had the Dutch come into Australia with a national curriculum and implementing, and all the improvements I've just talked about. Well, here we are in 2020, and there's not very many new players on the horizon. There certainly isn't the numbers playing at the top levels in the world as there has been before. So really what's went wrong is what we have to ask. Now, the things I just mentioned are clearly indicators that you would say they're improvements in the game. And for the most part, you'd argue they are improvements. You know, watching live football on television, we've got good football pitches. We have qualified coaches learning a process. I would say that is progressive.
Yeah.
It's progressive. But why is it progressive on the field? So you might say, but the rest of the world has changed. Yes.
Yeah.
The rest of the world will always change. The game's competitive. And if we sit on our laurels and assume that we're just the best there is, then we're going to come undone quite quickly. What the rest of the world actually did, because most of the leagues in the world, even in Asia, are professional. If you go to Japan and Korea, big populations, football's #1 sport. They have youth teams, they have youth academies, they produce good players.
Yes.
Then what has it they done? Well, what they've done was adopt sports science. What Australia did was start to not pay so much attention to the sports science, which was a real strength. So let's think about an Australian athlete. He's got a country which has got a very good climate for football. You've got a country that's got good nutrition, fresh food every day, and you've got multi-sports happening in the schools. Kids are outdoors in schools in Australia. Pretty much 9 months of the year, they're outdoor, taking part in other sports. It's a proven fact that playing multi-sport will give your own sport a big boost. So we had these things in place. Now, let's go back to my original statement. It was deemed we were not seemed to be technically proficient. And the justification of that is World Cup reports from technical experts giving analysis and then feedback about each team's progress in the World Cup. Now, if we remember, we lost to Croatia, we lost to Italy in the qualifying stages, a major world force and power in football with a history of winning World Cups and exceptional players. So we narrowly lost to them in a penalty kick, controversial. So we did very well. And if we say again, to suggest that Kuhl, Viduka, Aloisi, Bresciano, Cahill are not technically gifted players, then you would have a serious thing. Kelac and Schwarzer are goalkeepers. One's playing with AC Milan at the time, the other one's playing the English Premier League. Now, we're good in every area. So if we're not technically proficient, the idea was, okay, we've got to spend more time working with the ball and on the ball. Makes good logic. But at what expense? Take away the time that you're spending doing physical or sports science, things that are a benefit. It was already proven one of the assets you had was a physical strength. So I think substituting one for the other was where we fell down. That's the first area. We had to blend the two. We had to bring more technical work in. The idea then would play more games. Again, good idea. I think we started doing that. Then we've minimized it again because we're not professional clubs. The effort for the semi-pro and amateur clubs in Australia to try and keep going 12 months in a year is a phenomenal effort financially. It's a strain on resources. We just can't do it. No. We just can't do it. Our A-League clubs, clearly, who are struggling financially at the moment, let's make no mistake about it, are struggling to hold this up. So how do you then ignore these things and think we'll keep on doing the same thing? We'll just keep doing it. And we have been ignoring it. We've ignored it. And now we're at a point now where we don't know where we are. We don't know how to measure it anymore. And how do you fix this thing? There's more registrations than what there ever was, which means more players, which means we've got more to choose from. Here's the other strength of Australia, ethnic diversity. Who in the world has the choice of players that we've got?
Oh, yeah.
We've got players whose parents, second generation, come from every place on earth. South America, Europe, Asia. We've got players in this country who come from countries where there's a history and a culture of professional football as the number one sport. But our country's got other sports. We have cricket, we have tennis, we have AFL, we have rugby, athletics, swimming. It's a country that's fantastic at sport. So our kids are taking part in all that. They're naturally good athletes.
Yeah.
They're naturally good athletes. And they'll help you become better. If you're good at basketball, you're going to be good at soccer.
Yeah.
If you're good at athletics, you're going to be good at soccer. So the knowledge that these are things that worked in the past and now they don't exist anymore is a place to start thinking, what have we got to do now? Now, if the AIS is gone and the VIS is gone, you've decentralised it. You can only say A-League clubs had to take up the mantle. A-League clubs, I think, should take up the mantle, and clubs themselves is where players are developed. Financial viability is clearly the issue. We know that there are a number of A-League clubs themselves who are struggling financially to keep their club going, their team going. We know that major sponsorships are filling out. We know the national body has got questions it has to answer to meet the demands financially and the resources of the sport. So it's quite simple that youth development's taken a back step. It's suffered big time because of this viability. And I don't have any answers to this because it's goes into the culture of the country. We're a country that pays for things, and that's where we are. But if we then say, where can we help the clubs? Where can we boost soccer? Surely it has to be the school environment.
Yeah.
If you take into consideration the number of schools in Australia, and we have state schools, we have high schools, private schools, grammar schools, we have all different types of standards of schools.
Yeah.
Any school in Australia has a football oval. Any school in Australia has an indoor gymnasium or court of sorts.
Yeah.
Any school in Australia will have a phys ed teacher who may not be an expert in football as such, but he can supervise, he can run the game, he can get. That means you can have training and playing at the game every day.
Yeah.
The youth is in a high school. He's in at year 7. He comes out at year 12. So it's 5 years of uninterrupted development anyway. It's a learning environment. It's a curriculum environment.
Yep.
It's natural place for learning and education with football like anything else. PE is compulsory, so you can make it a subject choice for football.
Yeah.
So it also doesn't cost nothing. It's part of the fees.
Yeah.
It's already built in. Now, what that means is our whole talent identification process has got to consider schools. It's got to consider all other areas where football is played, be it in churches, be it in alternative use, and indeed outside the NPL and indeed the A-League structure. I think my last reading last year, there's 9% of the players playing NPL in the A-League. That means 90% plus is playing in community leagues.
Yeah.
Now, 90% versus 8%.
Yeah.
Sort of tells you they must be talented players out there.
Exactly.
So right away, you've got MPL,
Yeah.
you've got community leagues, you've got schools,
Mm-hmm.
and you probably got churches or other competitions.
Yeah.
So each of these competitions needs a talent ID process where you pick the best.
Yes.
And then at the end of their cumulative competitive seasons,
Mm-hmm.
you host another competition where you play the best of these against each other to qualify to play against an all-in competition.
Yep.
And then from there, you would pick the best players to represent Victoria. And that way, you've got a better way of capturing players from each competition.
Yeah.
You're going to find players. Also, when you get a selection process, which is the real nuts and bolts of coaching here, you're going to have the ones who just missed out. So I picked 20 players. 20 players missed out. I picked you instead of I picked the other boy, George.
Yeah.
But George was very close. George, you get picked because you can kick the ball with both feet. He can only kick it with one foot.
Mm.
But I know of him. I've got him on record.
Yeah.
So we can say, let's keep an eye on him. He's a potential player that
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can create a B program or another program.
Yeah.
And that means you're going to have more games outside a competition season. More games means the player improves. Playing against better players and with better players will make you a better player.
Mm-hmm.
And taking them players
to
situations where they're unfamiliar, and that would be interstate, that would be overseas in Asia, that may be overseas in Europe. Take them into environments where they're uncomfortable, where they have to adapt their game,
mm-hmm.
and they are challenged, which will make them a better player. Playing under pressure, playing in unfamiliar environments, because when they're uncomfortable, that brings out the best in them. You'll see them under pressure, what they're really like. So I guess the dilemma we have is for all this to be channeled and put into some meaningful content, because I really think we're letting down young players in this country at this point in time. The contrast then is the women's game.
Yes.
They're reasonably successful at this point in time. They're reasonably successful. They've had a couple of runs in World Cups, Asian Cups. We're producing quite good young players.
Yep.
Is there a danger of them now following the men's program and following it because it's virtually want equality in the same structure?
Yeah.
And rightfully that's a rightful choice because it's succeeding. But therefore, does the experiences in a system affect them the same way it has affected the males? Now, maybe it will. Maybe. I haven't got a certainty on that. But they're doing quite well in a more tougher situation where the environment is more challenging. The finances and the resources are less. The effort is greater.
Mm-hmm. Yet
they're succeeding or have succeeded reasonably well till now. So they've had an upsurge, whereas the boys' game has had a downsurge. And it's given a beacon of light. So you got to look at the reasons why they're succeeding, because that might give us an insight how to add something back to the male game, which is losing something big time. Less numbers, yes, but they're performing quite well in international events. Mm-hmm. Players are getting opportunities to play overseas in professional environments. So we're definitely getting the impact there that we had initially with our younger players of the past in the Australian system. The key also, coaching must play a part. Coaching has to be in coordination with a successful outcome. The nature of youth development coaching is to produce a successful individual player.
Yes.
So there's a famous quote by a gentleman called Mark Watte, again, the Dutch expert in youth development. But Mark Watte, he was at Southampton for a while. He was with the Scottish FA for a while, implementing some plans. His famous quote was, "In youth football, the individual is more important than the team.
Yeah.
And I think he's on to something there. I think our success in youth development is how many players can we get coming through to the senior experience, rather than the success of the youth team winning. So even me, I don't advocate that winning is the be-all and end-all of football youth development. However, winning, as indeed losing, as indeed being selected, as indeed being on the bench, as indeed playing a different position, playing badly, being substituted, they are all in the conundrum of youth development. They are all experiences the player has to go through to become a better player. The nature of youth football, or any football, is technical, tactical, and physical.
Yeah.
Them components combining to give you a player who's able to complete these tasks at any given time. However, one truth, the modern youngster has much more information than what we ever had. He's dealing with, he goes to school, there's a set of rules there. There's a set of rules at home. Soccer coaches get rules. There are rules coming from television and the world at large. And he's trying to disseminate all this information. Therefore, he has questions. He has knowledge. Because you can turn on television and watch football from anywhere in the world now. There is a million YouTube videos. There's a million coaches who's promising, if you do this, this will get you becoming a player.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to communicate far more effectively than we ever did. There is younger coaches coming from a pedantic experience of university and schooling who are probably more adept at that style of coaching and that information than older style coaches who work mainly from the games and the training and the match experience and then applying that to the training. The thing about football is everything comes from the training ground. The training ground is where the player is practicing, is where you're seeing, and then you make an assessment of, can he take that into the game? After the game experience, you come back to the training field again with the pros and cons of that. So the reason I mention that, there is a big debate going on at the moment about the ex-player and the non-coaching. Or the coach who has had no playing experience. Now, playing experience in itself is not necessarily the top level. It is a playing experience of playing a long time in football, and be it semi-pro, be it the amateur, but playing football for a long time and knowing the game and the happening moments of the game that players do. Now, the common thing you hear, do you need to be a good player to be a good coach? I never understood it, why it gets brought up. It sounds like a defensive statement right away from the non-playing coach. Because a coach who's played doesn't need to say it. And why would he say it? What's he trying to prove? What indeed has happened is there's been a fear or a sort of caution of mentioning that I played professionally at top level. I had an experience when I was a coach instructor with the FFA with a couple of Australian international players. And I won't name drop, I'll get a habit of that, but they had played in Italy in Series A. And they were doing their coaching badge and they had topics. They had to work together in a group of 3. And this particular coach came to me, ex-player, famous player. He said to me, Harry, I'd like to do this drill here, which I'd done when I was a pro in Italy. And I said to him, okay, and where does it lead? Because you have to involve the other 2 coaches. He said, yeah, it leads on. So what he'd done, what he was saying was his warm-up could lead into the game training and then the training game phase. And I said, look, I says, what you're showing me
Yeah.
And I've seen the exercise many times. It's very viable. But you're not allowing the other coaches then to design their part of an agreed thing that you're going to do. You've got to communicate together. I said, it's perfect what you're doing, but you're showing them how to do the second and the third part. Now, there's a dilemma you have. The thing you put on was magnificent.
Yeah.
It was a professional training girl. It warmed up, went into a small part of the game of attack v defence, and then went into a full practice with this outcome expected. And he was guiding the other two coaches. He was going to start it just to the warm-up. He was guiding them.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you can't do it that way. Because you have to collaborate, the three of you, with the input. I said, you're designing it and telling them how to do it because of your experience of players. So I said, but I'm giving you, it's first class. I said, it's top shelf, I've seen it, but it's not going to work like that. Why don't you go back with them and ask everybody come up with a theme and ask them, well, I'll do this part, and ask them how you would do that part and add to it and do that and so on. I said, now, there's a dilemma you have in coaching right away. You have fantastic experience, great players. What players can do is they can demonstrate very well. If you demonstrate to a young player, he's going to love you, he's going to love. If you can't demonstrate, you'll get challenged because they'll say, you show me that.
Yeah.
And these are the things you have to be aware of in the environment. Now, let's go the other way. I don't think it's particularly necessary for a coach to have played to pass a coaching course, because a coaching course is to pass an exam and show your competency and knowledge of being able to conduct training sessions or select or manage a team in a game performance. That's what a coaching course is teaching about structure, it's teaching about organisation, how to plan. So it's teaching a lot of good things. So you don't necessarily have to be able to demonstrate on a coaching course. You have to show knowledge of the game.
Yeah.
In a training session where you want it to be highlighted, this particular way of learning, you're not talking to coaches anymore. You're talking to players.
Yeah.
The players don't understand coaches talk. Coaches talk to each other with coaching terminology from a coaching course, and they're clear on BPO and BP and transition and starting positions and resets. Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're clear. But does a player understand it? The player starts to learn from the coach about technology. There is the trap in youth development, in my opinion. We keep trying to fix problems that the player is showing us instead of watching the player and learning how to coach him from him teaching us how to coach him. So it's big on observation. It's big on saying, he's very good there, but he's not so good there. How can I get him to do that without taking away what he's got? And learn from the player by observing him, how best to coach him. So it might say he's weak in one of his feet. He's not good in his left. So we might have to put him on the left. Play there. Well, he's still going to use his right, but eventually he's going to use his left, and it brings it into practice.
Yeah.
So there's nature youth development then, for improvement, has to consider coach education. Has to consider it big time. And that might need an altering or a rewriting of the curriculum, because the curriculum is embedded in our coach education. Now, the curriculum's got a lot of good things in it. It's got a good structure. It's got good planning. It's got good methodology. It's definitely a good thing. But it does well at discovery. It does well at skill acquisition, because you get up to about 13, 14 years. And in the game training phase is where it starts to break down, because you're starting to deal with things outside the individual. You now have to work. So the individual says, I'm a right back. The coach says, I want you to get forward and try and get crosses in and support the overlap. But then it sort of goes vague. He's also got another job. He's got to stop the opponent getting past him and getting crosses in. He's got to stop him cutting inside. He's got to block him. So he's got, within his positional role, he has tasks, 2 tasks, a defensive and an attacking task, one with, one without the ball. Reasonably clear. But he's got a group task now. He's also, when he doesn't have the ball, but his team's defending, and he's the right back, but the ball's coming down the left, he's got to work with his other 3 defenders as to what's his job is now. Now that takes a more detailed, more collaborative approach to the other 3 players. So that takes time to blend your role into a group role. But then you go into the training game phase, where you get into the global role of the team, the objectives, get the result. Let's win the game. How do we do it?
Yeah.
We may play a different formation. So I now need to understand as a right back what my number 11 does.
Yeah.
And he's, well, I'm not at the ball. That needs education.
Yeah.
That needs a new structure. If you look at under 17s, under 20s, that's men. That's the adult phase. That's boys got to get.
Yes.
We can't get out of this. Our players can't get beyond keeping possession and the 4-3-3 system. And results, if you saw, I saw a game before the last World Cup. I think we were in Mexico, we played against Nigeria.
Yep.
And we're beaten 6-0.
Yes.
We're beaten 6-0 in that game. Right? Now, you can say, and these are the quotes. I was at a seminar and a well-known personality. So the game was, a coach presented the game.
Yes.
The goals that Nigeria scored. A lot of them, 2 or 3 of them were headed goals, which is another area for discussion. But after the coach who highlighted the pros and cons of the game, he wasn't too negative, and there were some good performances from some individuals, even though we lost, which is definitely a point to value again. But he actually said, the next guy came up, a well-known, respected figure in Australia who had held an important position at the time.
Yep.
He said, I was at that game. He said, yeah, we lost 6-0, but we were the better team. Now, a statement like that is dangerous and damaging and misguiding because it's not 1-0, it's not 2-0, and it's not 3-0. 3-0 is considered a well-beaten result. You've beaten 3-0, you've been well beaten. But 6-0 is pretty much a thrashing, pretty much a humiliation. It's something you can't argue with. It's just, it's detail that's not to be argued with. 6-0.
Yeah.
Now, that's a responsible person who impacts and influences other coaches in a particular area he comes from. And I found that a staggering, misdirected statement, misleading. And we're believing this. Now, the quote was, we had more possession, and we did. I think we had 50, 70, 60% possession in a game we lost 6-0. And we had few attempts at goal. They had 6. What I do remember about the game was Nigerians headed a couple of goals where we struggled to deal with the ball when it was in flight as to who was going to attack it, who was picking up, and a sort of uncertainty between the goalkeeper and his defenders.
Yeah.
The reason for that is heading has become a really undefined skill in Australia. We're just not good at it in youth. You don't practice it.
Exactly.
We probably don't practice scoring goals.
No.
As part of our process. It's evident. Having said that, Tim Cahill would be one of the best exponents of heading a ball in the world. That guy has got an exceptional technique and talent at it. He's got brilliant timing. He's got brilliant execution. He's got great technique, and he's very small. He's not a tall player. So it's not to say it can't be done.
No.
That's not, but why? So here's another question. If Timmy Cahill hadn't been around, maybe we hadn't been in the last couple of World Cups. Because he was definitely a definitive factor in the Australian team. He was quite exceptional. So heading is a reason why we lost and conceded a number of goals in that game. There's a clear, if you're analysing the game, you're saying, well, there's a technical. There's a technical part we're not good at.
Yes.
So why we've identified it and we're not good at it? We're not practicing it. It's not part of our training sessions. You don't actually see it in skill acquisition and national curriculum on paper. It's not mentioned.
Yep.
So it's a skill of the game. It's a technique of the game. There's actually two types. There's attacking headers, defensive header.
Yeah.
Both require striking the ball in a different area. So there's something we're ignoring.
Yep.
And we're suffering. So it's just a simple observation. The second thing is the possession in itself. We've succeeded. We are good at possession. We can keep possession of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Is it effective possession creating scoring chances? Well, clearly the evidence suggests no.
Yeah.
Keeping possession is actually also a defensive tool.
Yes.
And I think Ange Postecoglou did it very well. I think he understood we can't afford not to have the ball because the opposition may be better than us in certain areas. So if they've got the ball, then they're going to hurt us. So we may try to keep it for as long as we can, even in negative areas. Again, a smart coaching decision, practical, sensible, making use of possession, not as an attacking outlet, but as a way of keeping the ball away from your opponent and not risking losing it by playing passes that were maybe a risk of loss. So there's practicality in these things, but we've got to have these things, the practicality of that, and our whole methodology going forward. So it needs further discussion. The people that's got to be discussed with is the main youth coaches at the coalface in Australia. The youth coaches of anybody under 18, 98, has to be given input into the strategy going forward. At the moment, there doesn't seem to be a plan.
No.
The recent technical director was a very capable man called Rob Sherman, who pulled no punches. Who pulled no punches in his defamation of. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
He pulled no punches in his negativity about Australian football. Excuse me. I'm trying to switch it off. So how do you fix it? You got to say that the man has pulled out, and he explained it all.
Yes.
One of the things he said was national and state federations were separate.
Yes.
And excuse me a second. It's John. Can you just tell him when he calls up? Take it, please. They'll call back and just say he's on the phone. Thanks. State federations, is it their responsibility to develop players? No, it's certainly not. Federations in the world don't do it. They're part of a process for selecting players. They appoint people to select players to represent. They don't develop players. They're not a club. They're a federation. So if you look at any system in the world, federations don't develop players. They select players.
Exactly. Yeah.
For coaches to prepare and develop for an event, be it a competition, be it a tour. Mm-hmm. That's what federations do. Now, logistics of this country has got challenges, and I certainly haven't worked for the federation. I know the resources and all, but that is something we maybe should move away from.
Yep.
State federation developing players. They don't do it. They're not supposed to do it. If there's a state select program like a VIS, they can be part of the process for providing the development of them players and the selection process nationally. But to develop players away from the club environment is at a loss. So here's the next thing to say, and the last thing.
Yeah.
The French Football Federation, Clairefontaine system, wasn't a quick fix.
No.
It didn't happen over 10 years. It didn't happen over 20 years. It took 30 years before it started producing into an organised and fixing and challenging and reinventing, which is the term. The Barcelona model, the
Yeah.
Dutch, Rinus Michels and Johan Cruyff are there for many years, implementing the things that have to be done. But given the fact that Spain were very good anyway, technically, and were always a very good cultural football country, it didn't take too much to get that to succeed. My contradiction in that is this: Australia were on par and were down, had completed their 10, 15 years with the succession of the AIS and a logistical program which was practical for the country. It had solved the problems of state by state. Queensland had a talent development program which took in country players, and it allowed players to be selected for the state team once they had played for the rep and regional team and went to a state championships where players were selected at state championships to represent Queensland, both metropolitan and regional.
Yep.
And then all them state players became, so they then get selected into the QAS, the equivalent of their VIS, Queensland Academy of Sport. The institutes all then play against each other. All states to play for Australia's under-17s. Another good selection program. So you had solved things. Your thing was to look at it and how do we make this better? How do we make the modern challenges of the game moving forward? Well, we went into Asia, if you remember. We joined Asia to become more competitive, to get more games. Well, yeah. So we have another measure on the board there. So go back to all the improvements we've made. Why are we not replicating that on the field? Why isn't there more exciting young players coming through? Why isn't there more talent identification? Who is the next best Australian young player? And last time I looked, A-League clubs had very few players listed on their team sheets under 20 years of age. I saw a youth league final, I think, of last year. I think it was Melbourne Victory and I think the Sydney team. One team won by 3 or 4 goals to 1. But the players who scored the goals were 20 and 21 years of age.
Wow.
So you're getting into areas where we're contradicting and maybe not getting the runs or the successes we should be starting to have some indicators of at this period in time. They're not there. They're just not there. And how it's going to be fixed needs a new plan, needs a new strategy, needs to have competitions, needs to have coach education implemented as part of that plan, and then understanding the time frame that will take. If we're saying 10 years an indicator, then our indicators are not good at the moment.
Yeah.
But if we add another 10 on, then that's the reality. And how it gets passed on to the next generation of young coaches is really where it's going to take a real challenge. You're getting the older school coaches and the younger coaches. So you get the younger guys coming into the game and says, they're old football, they don't know. You're getting the old guys sort of putting arguments forward that this doesn't work. This is what you should be doing. So you need a marriage of both. You need a succession of coach education being delivered by 2 practices. The pedantic theory side, which I think young teachers or educators in any education format are good at, taking place in the classroom. Out on the field, you need people that seen the habits and the practitioners of the game and the experiences of actual games and situations in a game being demonstrated, being showed, being followed on by an outcome of demonstration and practice. And then blending them both together and allowing an unstructured framework within the structured framework, I think you're going to produce a more creative player, more imaginative player. And you're going to combine the knowledge of the past with what we need to do in the present, which will embrace the future. And with that, I think I've summed most of it up. But it needs further discussion.
It does.
A lot more experts. But you go back to the people who's recently been critical. You've got Mark Viduka. You've got Rob Sherman.
Yeah.
You've got Ron Smith. You've got Robbie Slater. Gary Van Egmond.
Yeah.
They are names in the
Yes.
game. They are not just emotional people. One of the things, nobody listens until it's someone like this.
Oh,
or things get that bad that they have to be fixed.
Exactly.
You must be approaching that point now.
I feel so.
One good thing I might say about this whole COVID experience is that there now is a stop and think and analyse and have a whole retake about football, where it's going, what it means, and indeed, because the recent status of things and what we're hearing about lack of finances coming from sponsors and cable TV is going to put a real balance and challenge on.
Exactly.
But you don't invest in the future, you don't have some effort and some planning for youth, you're not going to have a future. It's imperative you invest in it. And the time and effort it takes to get an outcome is what Australia's got to do. As I say, Rob Sherman, capable man, a good man, quit the job with the sheer frustration of not having any support for his ideas and plans. And his insight and his analysis into what was wrong. And he highlighted it all. So I think there needs to be much more discussion on it. I'm sure there will be. There's a couple of formats coming up now from Football Coaches Australia. And a few other formats where we need this thing implemented. Because if we keep doing what we're doing, then we can't expect a result. We can't expect progress. Doing the same thing doesn't improve things.
Exactly.
You have to change. You have to challenge. You have to analyze.
That's it.
So that's my thoughts and feelings at the moment, Rohit, on the whole progression of youth development in Victoria, but I think it represents Australia as a whole. We're a mainstay, and we're an indicator of things not going so well. We're a main player in football in Australia, along with New South Wales. So if we're not cutting it, let's not be too critical of federations or club coaches or people like that. The support and resources and the part of a plan is increasing. The national curriculum is a mandated process which all clubs have to follow. But I'd argue they are following it, and there's no outcome, there's no guarantee, and it's getting continued with. Maybe it is a 30-year plan. I don't know. I've never seen a time frame on it. Otherwise, we're expected to be some sort of top 20 in the world at some point. I think it may even be past now where we're slipping a bit more world rankings. I think people rankings. We've slipped a bit. We're certainly not progressing up. So if that's the indicator, that's some questions. However, stay positive, love football, keep going.
That's right.
I'll crack on for there.
Perfect, Harry.
All right, well, it's been a pleasure.
It's been great, mate.
Thanks very much. And let me know when you're going to put it up on your media outlet, and I'll.
Absolutely love it, mate. I think thank you for your time and talking with me. But it's always an educational experience when I'm hearing you speak. I really appreciate that.
Go on a bit, don't I?
But it's fantastic because